You are being transferred. The cold-eyed manager, Alex, announced my reassignment, and I couldn't hide my shock. The destination was a store located on a remote island, far from the big city. Among the employees, it was rumored that being transferred there was akin to a demotion. This is a final decision. If you have complaints, take them to headquarters. Faced with Alex's stern words, I couldn't argue. However, on this island, surrounded by crystal clear skies and the vast ocean, I was destined to encounter something extraordinary. Will you, with me? Captivated by her blushing smile as she extended her hand, I found myself naturally reaching out to take it. My name is Michael. I work at a major sports goods company, Williams Sporting Goods. My main duties involve stocking and managing orders at the retail store. I handle inventory in the backroom, tracking sales and arranging supplies. But then, Michael, help! The register just stopped working. Can you fix this? A coworker from my team pointed to a malfunctioning register. After a quick check, it seemed to be a minor issue I could handle without calling for a technician. I grabbed some tools, made a few adjustments, and the register was back in action. Thank you, Michael. As she enthusiastically shook my hands up and down, another colleague peeked in. Michael, can you come here for a second? I finished setting up the hiking gear section. Can you check if it looks okay? He led me to the hiking section. In the hiking section, various items like boots, backpacks, and trekking poles were neatly arranged. I took a moment to survey the layout. It looks good, but this backpack is for women, right? Maybe it'd be better placed lower, where it's easier to reach. I thought it looked better higher up, but yeah, you're right. Women are generally shorter than men. And this bear bell, why not put it somewhere more visible? With all the recent bear incidents, I think customers might be more inclined to buy one if they see it right away. Good point. He stroked his chin thoughtfully and began reconsidering the layout. Just then, another coworker appeared, calling out, Michael! Michael! Help! There's a foreign customer asking for product recommendations, but I'm terrible at English. They barely understand Japanese. Following the nearly tearful coworker, I approached a customer who was trying out different baseball gloves. In English, I asked what he was looking for and learned he was joining a recreational baseball team and wanted to know the best glove for his position. Since he primarily played first base, I lined up some first baseman's mitts and explained the features of each. After trying several, the customer seemed undecided. Observing his attire and mannerisms, I suggested one that seemed like a good fit, and he ended up loving it enough to buy it. Thank you. It's great having you at this store, Michael. Seriously, you're so helpful. You're good with machines, knowledgeable about products, and you can speak English without hesitation. As my coworkers gathered around, singing my praises, Alex appeared. It's still work hours. Stop slacking and get back to your tasks. Okay, they replied reluctantly, dispersing to their respective duties. And you, Michael? Isn't your job something other than customer service or displays? Sorry, but isn't it natural to step in and help when others can't handle something? At this, Alex shot me a cold glare. Just get back to your station. His sharp tone sent me straight back to the stockroom. Alex had always been strict and unapproachable, but lately, he seemed especially harsh toward me in particular. As I sighed, I noticed Alex making a phone call, his expression grim. Something about it gave me a bad feeling. And that feeling turned out to be right. The next day, as I arrived at work, Alex called me over and said, Michael, you are being transferred. I couldn't hide my shock at the location Alex coldly announced. It was a store on a remote island, far from the big city. The very existence of a store there was puzzling, and among the employees, it was rumored that being sent there was essentially a demotion. Why is Michael being sent to some remote island? Alex, we'll be in trouble if Michael leaves. Employees who had apparently been eavesdropping voiced their shock and objections. But when Alex shot them a glare, everyone fell silent. This is a final decision. If you have complaints, take them to headquarters. After Alex's stern declaration and departure, the employees gathered around me. Michael, what are we supposed to do without you? That's definitely just Alex being spiteful. He's always been envious of you. I bet he's worried you'll take his position as manager. Since you're so capable. As my coworkers chattered noisily, I gazed out the window. The clear blue sky outside stood in stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. After about 3 hours of weaving through the waves on a jet boat, I arrived at my destination. Stepping off the boat, I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the island's pristine air. Looking up, I saw seagulls circling in the cloudless blue sky. On the way to the store where I'd been reassigned, I took in the sights of the island. Everywhere I looked, there were beaches, surfers, old houses, cliffs, lush greenery, and that vast blue sky. It was an incredibly peaceful place. The locals I passed all greeted me warmly with good morning, their expressions calm and kind. Of course, I returned their smiles. Walking leisurely, I soon arrived at my destination. The entrance wasn't an automatic door but a pair of swinging double doors. Excuse me, I'm Michael. I've been assigned here starting today. As I entered and greeted the store, a woman sitting at the register, reading a book, looked up. Her short, neatly trimmed hair suited her cute features perfectly. The moment our eyes met, I felt as if my heart had been struck by lightning. This was what people called love at first sight. Her wide, jewel-like eyes opened even wider as she stared at me. When I tilted my head in confusion at her expression, she pursed her lips slightly. She might have been surprised that I'd arrived earlier than expected. Hold on a moment. She stood up and rang a bell sitting on the counter. As I admired her voice, which felt vaguely familiar and endearing, four men emerged from the back room. I'm Claire. I'm the manager here. Just call me Claire. And these are the employees. There are 2 more, but they're off today. I'll introduce them another time. As Claire introduced them, the 4 men lined up in front of me and greeted me with a quick "nice to meet you." I returned the greeting, and they promptly disappeared back into the back room as if their obligation had been fulfilled. Left alone with Claire, my heart began to race. If I remembered correctly, she was the daughter of the company president, Mr. Williams. I hadn't realized she was such an incredible person. If I had known, I would have worked harder to get assigned to her store sooner. While my mind spun with these thoughts, Claire continued speaking. This store is nothing like the one you worked at before. Hardly any customers come here, so just take it easy. Take it easy. I widened my eyes at her words and glanced around the store. Even so, everything here is neatly displayed, and it's spotlessly clean. Oh, that's because we have an employee who loves cleaning. I nodded in understanding, though something about it still didn't sit right with me. As I stared at Claire, she frowned slightly, her cheeks reddening, and asked, "What are you looking at?" Adorable. No, wait. I pulled myself together and studied her again. Her eyes seemed to hold a mixture of hope and resignation. Claire, deep down, you don't really think it's okay not to work properly, do you? Huh? My words left her mouth hanging open in surprise. You feel like things need to be done properly, don't you? But maybe you're running away from something? As I puzzled over what that something could be, Claire's eyebrows shot up, and she glared at me. I told you, I don't think that, you idiot. Just go to the back room and learn how things work from someone else. She had called me an idiot right after meeting me. Well, maybe I deserved it for asking something so intrusive. Fair enough, I guess. Still, even when she's angry, she's incredibly cute. It made me want to impress her, so I decided to do the opposite of what she said and push myself harder. The next day, while I was at the backroom computer researching something, Claire appeared beside me. What are you doing? Just looking something up. Aha! Well, never mind that. I'm going to show you around the island. Right now? I glanced up at the clock. I had just come back from lunch, so it was a little after 1 p.m. You and I both have supply work this afternoon, right? But today's not a delivery day, and we haven't sold anything, so there's no need to order. We're free. Without waiting for an answer, Claire headed outside. I closed the browser and rushed after her. I had no intention of missing this chance to be alone with her. The only sounds were the waves and wind rustling through the trees, accompanied by the cries of seagulls overhead. Claire and I walked side by side along a road completely free of cars. Naturally, I took the driveway side. After a while, we arrived at the port, the very spot where I first set foot on this island. Now, there were no ferries or jet boats, just a cluster of fishing boats bobbing on the water. That's the only convenience store on the island. It's not like the ones in the city, the selection is pretty sparse. And it closes when the sun sets. Peering through the glass walls, I saw an older man who seemed to be the clerk, sitting at the cashier and reading a newspaper. Claire had been reading a book when I first arrived, too. People here sure seemed relaxed. The shops are all clustered in this area. As she spoke, she introduced the stores lined up along the coast, one by one. When I glanced out at the sea, I saw 3 surfers enjoying the waves. After that, she showed me the town hall, the clinic, the police box, lodging facilities, and the elementary school, bringing us to about halfway around the island. We had reached the northern part of the island. There were no houses, no shops, not even a hint of people in this area. Just overgrown vegetation, sandy beaches, the sea, and the vast blue sky. Nobody comes here. It's my favorite spot. You're the first person I've ever told about it. Even though there was no one else around, she leaned in close and spoke in a low voice, making my heart race. She sat down on the sandy ground, and I followed suit. The ocean breeze played with her hair. Still, getting transferred to such an unremarkable place must have been tough for you, Michael. Not at all. This island is peaceful, the nature is beautiful, and it's wonderful here. I'm determined to do my best. Claire tilted her head. Do your best. But I told you, there's nothing to do here. No, there is something we can do. There isn't. Hardly any young people live here. There's only one elementary school, and it doesn't even have 10 students. At best. Those kids come to buy sneakers, or the teachers buy supplies for their lessons. That's about it for our store. No, there is something. Look. I pointed at the ocean, but Claire only tilted her head in confusion. It seemed she didn't understand what I meant. Yesterday and today, I saw people surfing out there. This ocean is perfect for surfing. The waves are great. When I looked it up online earlier, I found out this spot is known among certain surfers as a hidden gem. If we promote this, we could attract more surfers. We could target them by selling surfboards and wetsuits. Claire studied the waves in front of us intently. I don't really know if these are good surfing waves or not. They are. I can tell, I have an advanced surfing certification. Why do you even have something like that? Claire sighed in exasperation. Ignoring her reaction, I laid out the plan I'd been thinking of since yesterday. I was thinking of using our equipment to make a video of me surfing and posting it online for promotion. If it catches on, it might go viral. Oh. And don't worry, you can all just keep doing your usual tasks. I'll handle it myself. Trying to reassure her that I wouldn't burden anyone, I added that detail. But instead, she let out another big sigh. Why are you so motivated? You know, don't you? In our company, it's rumored that being transferred here means you've been demoted. Of course, I know. But I believe there's a reason I was sent here. Looking ahead, I saw the sunlight glinting on the waves. Ever since I was a kid, I've been able to do anything without much effort, whether it was studying or sports. Because of that, my parents taught me that I should always help those who struggle. I've kept that in mind ever since. That's why, even here, I'll just do what I can. Helping those who can't, huh? Claire pouted slightly and looked down. Curious, I leaned in to look at her face, but before I could, she stood up abruptly. By the time I looked up, the pout was gone, replaced by a smile. Let's do it together, then. Not just me, but everyone in the store. We don't have much else to do, so why not try it for fun? Still sitting on the sand, I watched as Claire extended her hand toward me with a smile. The sunlight reflecting off the waves seemed to form a halo around her. Mesmerized by her radiance, I instinctively reached out and took her hand. Her hand was warm and steady as she gripped mine. The project, which we named the Surfing Spot PR campaign, was announced by Claire to the entire team. I've already contacted headquarters to request a full set of surfing gear. Once it arrives, we'll kick things off. Michael will do the surfing. Leo will handle filming, and Ryan will help with transporting equipment. Max will edit the video and use it for promotion. Meanwhile, Tyler, Lucas, and Jake will take care of the store. Watching Claire assign roles so efficiently, I couldn't help but stare in awe. Noticing my gaze, she gave me a triumphant look. Leo takes photos of the scenery around here all the time, so he knows the best angles. Ryan is strong, and Max is great at editing videos. As for Jake, he's a rain magnet, so it's best not to bring him along. The employees burst into laughter at her remark. Even Jake, the so-called rain magnet, laughed along, showing no sign of dissatisfaction. And that was true for everyone else as well. That's amazing, Claire. You're so good at bringing everyone together. You've got real leadership skills. Not at all. When I honestly told her what I thought, she looked slightly flustered. When the full set of surfing equipment arrived, we immediately headed to the beach. The weather was perfect with clear skies and ideal waves. Luckily, not a single other surfer was there. It was the perfect day for filming. It had been 3 years since I last surfed, back when I got my certification. But it didn't take long to get the hang of it again. Within 10 minutes, I was riding the waves smoothly. The waves here were easier to ride than any I'd experienced before. I got so into it that I forgot we were filming and just enjoyed surfing to the fullest. Michael, we've got enough footage. Let's take a break and head back. Hearing Claire call out, I glanced at my watch and realized I'd been riding waves for 2 hours. As soon as I became aware of it, a wave of exhaustion hit me. When I returned to the shore, I found Claire, Leo, and Ryan sitting on a spread-out plastic sheet. Leo was busy reviewing the footage, staring intently at the camera screen. I made lunch. If you'd like, help yourself, Claire said, opening a large lunchbox. Inside the boxes were homemade rice balls and various side dishes. My stomach growled loudly. Did you make this yourself, Claire? Well, yes, sort of, she replied, her cheeks tinged with pink. Grateful, I raised my hands in surrender and decided to partake. There's dessert too. I didn't have time to make it, so I bought it from the convenience store, sweet dumplings. Oh, I'll skip the lunch. Just give me the dessert, Ryan quipped. Hey, Ryan. That's rude, Claire protested. If Ryan doesn't want it, I'll eat it all myself, I said, pulling the lunchbox closer while Ryan grabbed the dessert package. Claire, though chiding me with "you'll get a stomachache if you eat that much," seemed pleased watching me enjoy her food. The promotional video edited by Max using Leo's footage was uploaded to a major video platform, thanks to Claire's connections with headquarters. In just one day, the video surpassed 10,000 views. While surfers were the primary audience, many viewers were also captivated by the ocean, sky, and natural beauty showcased in the video. This led to an influx of visitors to the island. We pushed surfing gear to the forefront in the store, resulting in a significant boost in sales. When even professional surfers started showing up, we were genuinely stunned. Moreover, the increased tourist interest in activities beyond surfing brought newfound vitality to the entire island. It was a welcome and unexpected outcome. And now, a toast to celebrating our record-breaking sales. Claire cheered, kicking off our celebration. Though modest, it was a gathering in the store's backroom after closing, with everyone sharing drinks and snacks they had brought. Claire's homemade dishes, like omelets and fried chicken, were a treat for me. You know, the store feels so different at night, like it has a unique charm, like being in a school after hours. Hearing that, Lucas nodded and said, "Yeah, that's true." Speaking of schools at night, that reminds me of ghost stories. I heard there's an old one tied to this island from a local, Jake said. What kind of story? Tell us. Ryan asked eagerly, his voice brimming with anticipation. Jake set down his beer can and adopted a serious expression. Long ago, a ship sank off the northern shore of this island. Apparently, it belonged to a group of troublemakers who had been plundering the surrounding islands. The locals decided to teach them a lesson and sabotage the ship. It's said that the crew, who perished in the wreck, became vengeful spirits. Every night, they wander the northern beach, and those who see them are cursed with misfortune. A heavy silence fell over the group. Suddenly, Tyler clapped his hands, startling Claire, who jumped in her seat. Let's have a test of courage. We'll pair up and head to the northern beach. That sounds fun. Let's do it. Ryan chimed in enthusiastically. Fueled by excitement, Tyler grabbed a piece of paper and eagerly started drawing lots for the pairs. Let's not do this. If there's a legend like that, it probably means the northern beach is dangerous at night, Claire argued. What's this, Claire? Are you scared? No, of course not. Ryan grinned as he spoke, and Claire shot back with a flustered tone, visibly agitated. Then Claire goes first. Tyler held out the lot drawing, and Claire hesitantly wrote down her name. Okay, next is Michael. Tyler said, holding the paper in front of me with his finger strategically placed on one line. I tilted my head in question, but he just smiled brightly. Reluctantly, I wrote my name in the designated spot, prompting Tyler to nod in satisfaction. Once everyone had written their names, the results were announced. I ended up being paired with Claire. Tyler, you set this up, didn't you? I whispered to Tyler, making sure Claire couldn't hear. He grinned mischievously. Of course I did. You like Claire, right? I'm rooting for you. Go for it. Far from being annoyed, I was actually grateful and thanked him. With a flashlight in hand, Claire and I headed toward the northern beach. The northern beach was the spot Claire had recommended earlier, saying no one ever went there. Perhaps the ghost story was the reason for its emptiness, even during the day. Unlike when she guided me around the island, Claire's pace was much slower this time. Are you okay? We can forfeit if you want. What? Do you think I'm scared of ghosts too, Michael? Not at all. Suddenly, I remembered one of my students from when I worked part-time as an online English conversation tutor. That was back when I was studying abroad in the US. Because it was summer, I told a ghost story in English, and even though the student was clearly terrified, she tried to act tough, saying, I'm not scared at all. As I recalled this, the bushes nearby rustled suddenly. Ah! Claire let out a cute scream, clinging to my arm. It turned out to be a black cat leaping out from the bushes. Without a collar, it was likely a stray. It crossed in front of us and disappeared. A black cat. It's a bad omen when one crosses your path. Claire clung tighter to my arm. The softness I felt made my brain momentarily overheat. But I quickly composed myself. In Japan, a black cat crossing your path is considered good luck. The bad omen idea is more of a foreign superstition. Really? So it's the opposite here compared to overseas. She seemed relieved, loosening her grip, though she didn't let go entirely. I noticed her trembling slightly. I couldn't force her to keep going like this. Claire, I think I'm getting scared of heading to the northern beach. What should we do? You're scared? Well, if you're scared, then we have no choice but to forfeit. Exactly. If I'm scared, there's nothing we can do. And so, we turned back, deciding not to continue to the northern beach. It was only then that Claire seemed to realize she'd been clinging to me. She quickly pulled away, flustered. Sorry. I was just startled for a moment. It's not like I was scared or anything. Her blushing face as she tried to explain herself was so adorable that I had to fight the urge to laugh. If I laughed now, I'd surely upset her. We walked a bit apart for a while, but before long, she edged closer to me, looking hesitant. I'm not scared or anything, but you are, right? So wouldn't it help if we held hands? Her flushed cheeks and upward glance made her look so endearing. It was as if she'd gathered all the cuteness in the world. That sounds like a good idea. Would you hold my hand? When I extended my hand, she took it. Her grip was firm, and I noticed her exhaling softly in relief. Pretending not to notice, I walked on through the night. Hey, Michael, do you know why our store is on this island? I shook my head. Claire smiled shyly. This is the birthplace of my grandfather, the founder of Williams Sporting Goods. He started his first sports shop here. And that's how the company began. Even now, our company cherishes this island store because of that connection. Claire gazed up at the night sky. Following her lead, I looked up to see a stunning canopy of stars spread out above us. The deep navy carpet of the night sky, scattered with countless jewels, was a breathtaking sight that could never be seen in the city. Being entrusted with such an important store just because I'm the president's daughter has always been a huge source of pressure for me. I used the lack of customers as an excuse to escape from that pressure. But thanks to you, Michael, I've changed. Seeing you work so hard and stay positive made me realize I need to work hard too. Thank you. And also, Claire paused for a moment and looked down. I'm sorry for getting mad at you the day you first arrived on the island. What you said hit too close to home, and I couldn't help but snap. I didn't mind at all. When I said that, Claire placed a hand on her chest in relief and smiled at me. Her smile shone brighter than the countless stars above us. As tourists and surfers visiting the island became a regular occurrence, our sales growth began to slow down. We need to come up with a new plan. Claire murmured. Lucas, who was cleaning, furrowed his brow and said, What if we invite professional surfers from abroad? When I suggested, Claire and Lucas both exclaimed, What, in unison. Hearing this, Leo and Tyler peeked out from the back room. Most of our current customers are Japanese, right? So, our next target should be foreigners. We can invite professional surfers from abroad to actually surf here and then use that as a promotional strategy. The idea's solid, but I can't speak English. Leo said, and Tyler nodded in agreement. Claire and Lucas can, right? You both handled those foreign tourists the other day. When I looked at them, Claire and Lucas exchanged glances. I only know a little. I left most of it to Claire that time, Lucas admitted. True, Claire was really fluent and confident, I added. Well, you know. It's all thanks to certain experiences. Claire said, raising her eyebrows slightly. In contrast, Lucas frowned. Ryan and Jake aren't good at English either. I'd be worried about bringing in foreign customers with our current abilities. It's fine. I'm confident in my English. I scored 900 points on the TOEIC. Between your surfing certification and this, Michael, what exactly are you aiming for? Tyler asked, sounding exasperated. I scratched my cheek awkwardly. I wanted to be prepared for anything, so I tried a lot of things in college. I even studied abroad in the US. I've also passed certifications in sign language, Japanese, accounting, food specialties, tourism, travel management, and other specialized certifications. You're overqualified, Claire quipped, prompting laughter from the other employees. Well, let's give it a shot. Michael, teach us some English. We can't leave it all to you and Claire. Of course. The relaxed atmosphere seemed to encourage everyone, and they all nodded in agreement. Thanks to Claire's connections, professional surfers from the US, France, and Africa, among other countries, arrived on the island. Since they all spoke English, we decided to handle everything in English. Until their arrival, I led intensive English conversation lessons for the staff. The most important thing in learning to speak a new language is not being afraid of making mistakes. Even in our native language, we make errors sometimes, right? It's the same for native English speakers. As long as your meaning gets across, it doesn't matter if you make a few mistakes. That advice seemed to help. On the day of the event, everyone confidently communicated in English with their assigned surfers. Relieved, I chatted with my own surfer while they tried out the equipment. We lent them our products to enjoy surfing. And Leo captured it all on camera. Michael, you were right, these are amazing waves. This is an incredible surf spot. My assigned surfer exclaimed happily in English. Just then, a loud voice in French echoed across the beach. Hey, what is the meaning of this? Everyone turned to see what was happening, alarmed. It was Jules, a French surfer who had placed second in a world competition. He was shouting furiously at Claire. This surfboard broke after only a short time on the water. I almost got injured. You invited me all the way out here, and this is how I'm treated? The psychological shock is immense. How are you going to take responsibility for this? He seemed to have lost control due to his anger, reverting to his native French. Because of this, Claire, unable to understand what he was saying, looked pale. I told my assigned surfer to wait for a moment and headed over to them. As I got closer, I could see that Claire was on the verge of tears. It pained me to see her like that. I gently moved her behind me and stood in front of the still angry surfer. In fluent French, I said, "Please calm down." Hearing this, his expression shifted. You speak French fluently? Yes, quite well. May I take a look at the surfboard? I'd like to see how it broke. Jules seemed surprised by my fluency in French, and his anger seemed to dissipate. He willingly showed me the surfboard. This looks like it hit a rock or something. Where were you surfing? I asked. Looking sheepish, he replied. I'm sorry. Actually, I was surfing a bit west from here. There were fewer people there. Ah, the west side, there's a rocky area over there, isn't there? So you hit a rock? Yes. This isn't your product's fault. In my panic, fearing for my life, I lashed out and blamed you. I wasn't thinking clearly. And I'm sorry for that. He bowed his head to me first, then turned to Claire and repeated his apology in English before bowing to her as well. The surrounding crowd erupted in applause, cheers, and whistles. Relieved that the crisis had been averted, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. After guiding the surfers back to their accommodations, we returned to the company housing, where everyone headed to their rooms. However, as I reached the entrance, I felt a small tug on my sleeve. It was Claire. I decided to stay. Thank you for earlier. When Jules came back from the ocean and suddenly started yelling, I couldn't understand him and got really scared. As she recalled the moment, tears began streaming down her face. A sharp pain tugged at my heart, and I instinctively pulled her into an embrace. Claire seemed surprised but didn't push me away. Instead, she wrapped her arms around my back. Still, Michael, it's amazing that you can speak French too. Just how many languages do you know? While still holding her, I counted on my fingers. Let's see, 4, no, 5? That's more than I expected, she said, stunned for a moment before giggling softly and resting her forehead against my chest. Our bodies pressed together, and my heart raced like a drum. Thank you, Michael. The sound of the waves gently surrounded us. The PR campaign involving foreign pro surfers was a success, and now international visitors came to the island frequently. They bought surfing gear from our store, boosting sales even further. Additionally, we started a volunteer program teaching English to the islanders. In this way, the entire island became lively once again. It created a wonderful cycle of positivity. Amid this success, Alex, my former manager, showed up just as winter was approaching. It's good to see you doing well. I've heard about it, how sales have increased here since your transfer. It's all thanks to the team at this store. I couldn't have achieved these results on my own. Alex stared at me with his usual cold eyes. Then, to my surprise, he bowed his head. Michael, would you consider returning to our store? Ever since you left, things have been going wrong, and sales have been plummeting. Seeing Alex bowing deeply, I felt a pang of sympathy. But my decision was already made. I'm sorry, Alex, but I'm staying here. Alex slowly raised his head in response. His usual stern look was gone, replaced by an expression full of regret. You're right. I'm sorry for showing up suddenly and saying all this, Alex said, bowing his head slightly. I shook my head gently. No need to apologize. Before my transfer, Mr. Williams, the president, explained everything to me. My reassignment wasn't just a demotion. It was for the sake of your team. You were worried that because I did everything, no one else would have the chance to grow. Alex remained silent, his gaze cast downward. You interviewed me during the hiring process, didn't you? Do you remember? When I mentioned studying abroad in the US, you said, just knowing English isn't enough in today's world. I was so inspired by those words that I worked hard to learn as many languages as I could before joining the company. Thanks to you, I can now use my multilingual skills. You didn't just teach me the value of languages, you also showed me the challenges and joys of work. Thank you. As I spoke, Alex finally raised his head. Do you not resent me? Even though I'm the one who demoted you? Well, I was shocked when you told me I was being transferred, but now I understand the reason. Besides, I've gained so much from being here that I'm grateful, not resentful. A single tear slipped from Alex's eye. He quickly wiped it away with his sleeve and let out a sigh. I've been telling my team not to rely too much on you, yet it seems I was the one who depended on you the most. I need to get my act together. With those words, Alex stood up. He bowed once, then left the store. I followed him out to the storefront. Alex, you're doing great. Your store will bounce back in no time. Good luck. I called out loudly to his retreating back. Alex didn't turn around, but he waved his hand gently as he walked away. After his figure disappeared from view, I returned to the back room. There, I found Claire sitting at her desk, resting her chin on her hand, staring at me intently. Are you going back to your old store? No. Claire let out a relieved sigh. Her sense of relief made me happy as well. Michael, there's somewhere I'd like you to come with me after work, she said, blushing slightly and sounding hesitant. I nodded immediately without hesitation. After work, Claire led me to the northern beach. The sun was still high, but as usual, the place was deserted. Are you okay coming here, Claire? I'm fine. I've come here plenty of times during the day, and nothing's ever happened. It seemed that Claire was confident as long as the sun was shining. I found that part of her endearing and couldn't help but smile softly. She stepped onto the beach and came to a stop. I stood beside her. My father also asked me to return to the headquarters. I think it's because of the store's recent success, she said quietly. Her words surprised me. but I still want to stay here. I want to keep working with the team and bring even more life to this island. So I said no. I turned him down for the same reason, I said. Hearing that, Claire smiled warmly at me. In that case, Michael, I'd like you to teach me another language. Like you did before. Before? You really don't remember, do you? She said, puffing out her cheeks in mock annoyance at my confusion. Michael, you used to be an online English tutor, right? Back when I was a student, I was one of your students. Oh. You were the one who got really scared when I told a ghost story. I was not scared. Her face turned bright red as she protested. That voice, it was unmistakably the voice of that student from the online classes. I figured it out right away, but you acted like we were strangers, she continued. To be fair, back then, you didn't show your face because of privacy rules, and you used a handle instead of your real name. With just your voice as a clue, even I couldn't figure it out immediately. Claire shrugged, then quickly nodded in agreement. You're right. Back then, as the daughter of Mr. Williams, the president, everyone just assumed I would take over the company someday. That expectation put a lot of pressure on me. My father made me start learning English too, but honestly, I wasn't into it. Still, I kept at it because you worked so hard to make the lessons enjoyable. Thanks to you, I became confident in my English skills. Claire crouched down on the sand. I sat down beside her. I used to be just a regular employee like you. Back then, I was still trying my best. But then, all of a sudden, I was made the manager of this store. I guess it's because this store has been treasured for generations. Over time, I realized that I was also responsible for the livelihoods of the people working here. That realization made the weight of my role feel overwhelming. I ended up running away because of that. But I'm not going to run away anymore. Her determined eyes met mine, piercing straight through me. My heart skipped a beat. As if she wouldn't let me escape, she grasped my hand. I love you, Michael. I've felt that way ever since you taught me English. It was because of you that I found the strength to keep going. So, Claire seemed to shine brilliantly before my eyes. I realized with certainty that falling in love with her at first sight had been inevitable. I love you too, Claire. As I leaned in closer, her eyes widened slightly, and a blush spread across her cheeks. Then, as if making up her mind, she closed her eyes tightly. My heart overflowed with affection. Unable to hold back, I gently kissed her. A year had passed since my transfer. Looking at the calendar hanging in the back room, I marveled at how quickly time flies. Michael, a customer's asking for you, Lucas called out to me. When I stepped out, I saw Jules, the French surfer Claire had worked with during our international campaign. I greeted him with a big smile. I watched the broadcast of the recent World Championship. Congratulations on your win. As soon as I congratulated him, he scratched his head bashfully. You're still going strong, I see, he said, glancing around the store. Indeed, there were several customers browsing inside. Lucas, who had just called for me, was now explaining surfboards to a customer who seemed to be trying surfing for the first time. Claire was busy at the register, handling payments. Thanks to you using our surfboards and wetsuits to win, Williams's name has spread like wildfire in the surfing world. Not only has this store seen more customers, but headquarters has been flooded with orders. That's great. I hope this makes up for what happened back then. It more than makes up for it, it's paid back with interest. When I responded with the biggest smile I could muster, Jules gave me a wry grin. At that moment, Claire approached us. It seemed she had left Tyler in charge of the register. After exchanging a few words in French with Claire, Jules turned to us with a smile. I heard you're getting married. Congratulations. News travels fast. Thank you, I replied. As he said, Claire and I were soon to be married. On Claire's left ring finger was a matching wedding band, identical to mine, as she laughed bashfully. "We're planning to have the wedding here on the island," I added. "That's a great idea. The sea and sky here are beautiful, it'll be a fantastic wedding. Make sure to invite me." "Of course." After a firm handshake, Jules said he was heading to the ocean for some surfing. "We're going to have a lot of guests, huh? Your old manager, Alex, is coming too, right?" Claire asked. "Yeah. I'm glad everyone will get to see you on our big day. Although, your wedding dress will be so stunning. I kind of don't want anyone else to see it," I teased. "Michael, stop it." Claire pouted, but her expression quickly softened into a smile. "I've always been able to handle things effortlessly since I was a child. It's a unique ability, and I was taught to use it for the benefit of others, which I've always tried to do. But relying on that alone can stifle not only the growth of those around me but also my own. Working together with those around me. By doing so, everyone can grow, and a positive cycle is created." I vowed to continue collaborating with Claire, my co-workers, the islanders, and those who visit, to further develop Williams and this island together.